Let's talk about some functions of human resources. Now, human resources might be a department internal to your agency. You might contract out for some of these things. Your agency might be small enough where just maybe your chief, your director handles all of these things. But let's talk about some functions of human resources. Now, let's say you work for an agency large enough to have its own human resources office. So, what are they doing? What are these HR professionals doing? Uh, they're recruiting. Well, they're doing a number of things, but let's point out some big ones. They're recruiting. They are uh, writing, formulating, defining job descriptions. They're interviewing, and they're dealing with some employee issues, or a lot of employee issues. Let's talk about these one by one. First, let's talk about recruiting. So, recruiting is how are we finding our workers? And not only do we want to find workers, we actually want to find good workers. Imagine that. So, how are we finding them? How are we funneling them into our applicant pool? How do they know that we have open positions available? We can place online ads. We can advertise it online. We can reach out via social media, especially today. Very strong tools on social media to advertise open positions. We can go out and visit educational programs. So if we're looking for paramedics, let's go out and visit some paramedic programs and actively recruit. Tell these students who are close to graduation about our agency, what we have to offer, and try to recruit them that way. And then even public events, going out and at job fairs, at even county fairs. You can go out, you can set up a booth somewhere, just showing your face, being a presence, puts you out there. So we've got job fairs, we've got um, local events, we've got conferences. If you want to go out to professional conferences, we've got our state conferences, whether it's here in North Carolina or Virginia or South Carolina or wherever it may be, or our national conferences at EMS Today or EMS World. Some pretty good opportunities for recruitment there. When crafting job descriptions, we want a few things here. So any good job description is going to have the position's responsibilities clearly laid out. And this turns into kind of a legal contract. So uh, if you don't put it in the job responsibilities, then the employee doesn't really have to do it. That's typically why we'll see the other responsibilities as assigned or duties as assigned kind of covers that gray area. But we're going to put the major job responsibilities there, so we have our expectations. So it's really what a job description is setting down the job, the position expectations. So if you take this position, if you're offered this position, this is what we expect of you to be doing. Then we're going to have qualifications, and we're going to split these apart into minimum and preferred. So our minimum qualifications are the bare minimum. This is what you barely need to fulfill these expectations, to fulfill these responsibilities. But we've got a list of preferred qualifications. So we've got our bare minimum candidate, which we never really want. We never want to be bare minimum. So we've got preferred. So let's say I've got a paramedic job advertisement out there. My minimum qualifications are that you be certified, licensed, or depending on where you are, as a paramedic, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. You just have to be a paramedic. Our preferred qualifications, not only are you a certified paramedic, but you have an associate's degree and you have certifications in ACLS and PALS and PHTLS. So maybe I want some extra stuff. So we're not looking for bare minimum. So when we're going through the process, we're looking at applicants. We sort them first by minimum qualifications. Do you meet the minimums? Yes. You will move on to the next round. And then when we are evaluating the those who meet those minimum qualifications, do you meet any of the preferred qualifications? And that's when we start ranking and prioritizing our applicants. After we've identified our qualified candidates, we can bring them in for interviews, and bearing in mind that we are equal opportunity employers. I'm sure you've seen that in your job ads before, that we're all equal opportunity employers, and this just states that this position is open to everyone, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of age. That is open to everyone. So we are equally affording opportunity for this position. And that leads us to our interview questions. There are a number of interview questions or questions that we cannot ask legally during the interview process. So these interview questions must be job specific. They shouldn't be personal. So we're not going to ask if a candidate is married. We're not going to ask a candidate specifically what their age is. Sometimes there are some requirements with age, but we're not going to specifically discriminate by age. We're not going to ask them about their religion, not going to ask if they are a member of their local church community, ask them if they have children. The candidate can voluntarily offer up this information. So if you ask a question, let's say about hobbies, which we can ask, what do you do in your off time? And that's an interview question that we recommend because self-care is very important. So what do you do? How do you take care of yourself when you're not on duty? And the candidate might offer up that they are active member in their local synagogue, and that's fully acceptable because we didn't ask about religion. The candidate brought that up. So there are questions that we are not allowed to ask, but if the candidate themselves brings it up and offers that information without us asking about it, that is fully legal. We've got a couple things with question marks beside them, and these are things for you to think about. So a lot of organizations require assessment centers where a candidate comes in, goes through a battery of exams, tests, scenarios, and the like. Whether or not your organization does this is up to you. Not required by any means, but some organizations find it beneficial, some don't. So that is up to you. The other one is the physical assessment, some sort of physical assessment of readiness for your candidates to make sure they can handle the duties of the job. And we have to make sure that if we do a physical assessment, it is related to the job. So if part of my physical assessment is making each candidate bench press 200 pounds, that's not job specific, right? If I require my candidates to climb in and out of the ambulance or load 100 pounds into the ambulance on a stretcher, that is job specific. So let's just make sure that if we are doing physical assessments, it is actually job specific as to not open ourselves up to lawsuit. Big part of human resources are employee issues. So we can start with the happier part, coordinating benefits, coordinating payroll. So your benefits, your payroll, depending on your agency, might be contracted out, but our employees need to be paid. That's generally not the responsibility of the EMS manager himself or herself to sign the checks. So we're going to have some sort of payroll process. We're going to have some sort of benefit process where we've got 401ks, we've got retirement packages, we've got health care and things like that. So HR is going to take care of benefits and getting people enrolled in benefits and navigating those benefits for us. They're also going to deal with potential harassment issues, potential just employee issues where there is a problem between two or more employees or maybe a supervisor. The employee can go to HR to work through this process, and there are very defined processes to deal with these things. And lastly, also discipline. So again, with your organization, it might be an HR department. Maybe this falls on the supervisor or your director or chief. But we've got disciplinary issues where an employee isn't isn't performing up to expectations, isn't fulfilling those expectations within the position's job description. So some discipline might be necessary, and discipline isn't always a negative thing. So we have progressive discipline, where it's just a sit down, and it's a things got screwed up, something happened. How do we prevent this from happening again? Um, Most people in the span of their career, start to finish, will have gone through some sort of progressive discipline. Um, and this is just performance improvement. So, how can we improve your performance? Something happened, it didn't go as well as it could have been. Um, so, how do we make sure that that doesn't happen again? When it comes up again, how do we make sure that it does go smoothly the next time? So this progressive discipline is a positive thing. It builds not only employee motivation, but builds respect within your organization. If it gets to the point of termination, so you've got this progressive discipline where you've screwed up, something happened, it didn't go well. We are going to go through this progressive process, this performance improvement process, and it happened again, and then again, and again, and again. We've got this documented. We've got our performance improvement, our progressive discipline documented. Then we can move on to what we call involuntary termination, where you're fired, and this doesn't happen too often in good organizations, because good organizations focus on that progressive discipline and focus on that performance improvement. Lastly, let's talk about some employee relations. We've also already mentioned some performance improvement, that progressive discipline. We always want performance improvement. Those good organizations out there have their finger on the pulse of performance improvement, and for each of its employees, every employee is improving year after year after year. Um, but with employee relations, we have to take into account orientation time. So you have a new employee; they're going to be going through some sort of orientation, whether it's some sort of academy, whether it's some sort of FTO time. So that is agency specific, the needs of your agency, the experience of the paramedic. A paramedic coming straight out of school with zero ALS experience may need a longer orientation than a paramedic of 15 years with lots of experience, and may just need to be oriented to your processes and to your specific system. So there's orientation. Also falling under employee relations, promotions. So have a good promotional ladder. Good EMS organizations have strong promotional ladders, have different steps to climb up, different positions with increasing responsibilities. We've seen this in the hospital systems with RNs, and they've done spectacularly well, and we're starting to see it in EMS as well. So little steps up if you're a paramedic 1, paramedic 2, paramedic 3, or paramedic crew chief, whatever you want to call it. Little promotional steps go a long way in building employee motivation and increasing buy-in in your organization, with increasing employee responsibilities, and in the end increases employee retention. So it costs a lot to replace an employee. So if we can reduce retention, increase motivation, and increase buy-in, that's a win-win right there. And with this goes mentoring and continued mentoring. So mentoring doesn't stop after the FTO process. It doesn't stop after that orientation process. There should be ongoing mentoring. There should be plans in place to kind of replace. So typically our supervisors come from our field paramedics or field personnel. So there should be mentoring in place to have almost seamless transitions and healthy transitions from a field from field personnel to a supervisory role, from a supervisory role to administrative role, and so on and so forth. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or cuss words, please let us know.